Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to another episode of No Huddle Rodeo, recapping all things San Antonio. We've got a jam-packed show for you today. We're talking Anita Ellis. We're talking the Wright brothers. We're talking Wacey Schalla, Tyler Waguespack. A lot to discuss from San Antonio, a lot to discuss to really get caught up on the early part of the season. We are through 2 of the 5 Texas swing events. Rodeo Houston has begun, and so again, the pro rodeo season it never lets up, especially this time of year. We are brought to you by Runyon's Fine Furniture and Cavender's today. And let's get in to San Antonio with the biggest story, what I think will be one of the biggest stories of the year in professional rodeo, especially if Anita Ellis continues on the path that she is on after winning San Antonio. So, as most of you probably know, Anita Ellis takes a bad fall at home leading up to the National Finals Rodeo, what would have been her first NFR. That was at the end of November. By December 5th, she is already released from the hospital despite a traumatic brain injury, despite multiple skull fractures, despite brain bleeds. So that's December 5th. On December 14th, she posts on Facebook, she kind of starts to feel who she is again, a little more confident, just a little more aware. Remember, she had nerve damage and a traumatic brain injury, so she would just kind of wake up in a daze a lot of the time for a 5-week stretch. She said she couldn't remember from the end of November through much of December. But fast forward then, January 27th, she's already starting to lope around the pattern again. She's showing signs. In January, she posts on Facebook that she went on a hike. And so she's starting to regain who she is. A month after she first lopes the pattern again on a horse, she wins the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo. And she wins the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo with a 14.22 in the semifinals and a 14.16 second run in the short run. And so think about that. 3 months before San Antonio, Anita Ellis couldn't remember a thing she did the previous day. She is dealing with mood swings and emotion and exhaustion that is completely foreign to her. She has to relearn how to do a lot of things. Not like she had a stroke or something, but has to relearn how to regain control of her body the same way. And then less than 4 months after all of that, she goes and wins one of the highest paying rodeos in the PRCA. And now she may set herself up to ride again at the National Finals Rodeo. And she rides with a helmet now, which I thought was great when she was talking about that, how she will never get on again without it. We've seen Fallon Taylor do the same thing. And so I think that's probably good for a lot of barrel racers who have maybe dealt with similar things or who have a fear of dealing with similar things, to see someone riding at a high level, wearing that helmet. Again, it is just an incredible story of support for her, support from her family, herself, her extreme resilience, her extreme mental toughness to return from a total loss of physical ability, of memory, of identity. And all of that, she wins over $20,000 at the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo. So, I mean, there's always great stories in rodeo. There's always great stories that come out of these big rodeos. There might be none better the rest of the year than what Anita Ellis just did in San Antonio. I mean, just really, really incredible stuff from her. On to another incredible family, incredible group. It's the Wrights. Stetson Wright goes 90. He wins San Antonio in the Bronc riding. Right behind him, Ryder and Rusty at 88.5 points. And I really want to talk more about Rusty because we have seen Ryder win the world championship. We've seen Stetson win the world championship. They've been in the headlines. Obviously, Statler did the same in 2025. And it's kind of stuck with me since hearing what Rusty Wright has gone through really the last 5 years, both personally, emotionally, struggles with addiction, injury after injury, and Remember, Rusty Wright broke onto the scene and finished top 3 in the world when he was 18, 19 years old. And then he went on to make 5 straight NFRs from 2016 to 2020. And so we always knew that Rusty Wright is incredibly talented. He kind of growing up, and Cody Wright has said this before, was the most talented, maybe still is the most purely talented of these Wright brothers. And we kind of saw the Cowboy Channel did a great road back for him, told his story, and he was incredibly candid, and it was incredibly personal, and he reflected a ton. And it kind of felt like, okay, that was the weight off his shoulders to get his story out there, to then start to do what he needed to do in the arena again. And he started incredibly fast. And he has just continued that into the Texas swing. He ties for the win in Fort Worth. And then he follows that up with his second place finish in San Antonio, $19,000 in Fort Worth, $17,000 in San Antonio. Rusty Wright, by the numbers, he's averaging 85.9 points this year. That would have led the PRCA a year ago. He has 24 qualified rides. 11, nearly half of those qualified rides have led to go-round wins. They're still tallying up all the money, but he will be number 1 in the world standings. Not only will he be number 1 in the world standings, he's off to such a good start, a literal historic start. Maybe the best start, and I'm not kidding, that we have ever seen in saddle bronc riding in pro rodeo. He's got over $90,000. Last year on March 1st, Cade Bruno was number 1 in the world with $65,000. He has opened up a lead of more than $20,000 already, and it's probably going to take, let's say, $130,000 to get the 15 spot this year. So he's really one good month away already from being in the NFR. And if he does well in Houston, let's say Rusty Wright makes the finals in Houston, which he made the finals in Fort Worth. He made the finals in San Antonio. Basically, every ride he's had this year has been better than 85 points. There's a good chance he makes the finals in Houston. That could be another $20,000. Rusty Wright could be well over $100,000 at the end of the Texas swing. Well over $100,000. I'm just doing the math in real time. He could be $125,000, maybe even $150,000. And so it has been so long for Rusty Wright. And we have gotten so used to seeing him in the stands with his dad, with his sister, with his family, cheering on his brothers, that we forgot that he is just as good as them and can be just as good, if not better than them, because he is number 1 in the world right now. But again, hats off to all the Wright brothers. Stetson wins San Antonio, Ryder up there with him. Statler made the finals as well. All 4 of them are going to enter Houston in the top 10. But again, I really do think the biggest story is Rusty, is the fact that it looks like right now, barring injury, barring anything crazy, not only will he enter the NFR again for the first time in 6 years, which sounds insane to say, but he will enter the NFR in a position to compete for the world title. And it is very realistic that we could have 4 Wrights in the top 10 this year, 4 Wrights in the top 5, 4 Wrights dueling for a gold buckle. Wacey Schalla is also going to duel for a gold buckle, but it may not be in the event that you think, because he is outside the top 50 in the bull riding right now, but he is the number 1 bareback rider in the world. And I've talked about this before. You could say it started in the NFR in December. You could say it started all the way through the summer run, because he really didn't get on bareback horses consistently till about May last year and still made the NFR. He was terrific down the stretch through all the big September rodeos. So that's to me when it really started. But then he goes to the NFR. He jumps from number 13 to number 5 in the world. He wins around. He leads the average for a while. He finishes top 3 in 5 of the 10 rounds. And then he gets his season rolling. Then in San Antonio, 5 rides of 84 points or better. 91 points on Calgary Stampede's disco party to win it. Earns over $25,000. He now is over $60,000 for the season, and he leads the world standings by about $9,000. And so if you are ever going to compete with Stetson Wright in the all-around. Remember, they were close last year. Wacey's got to pick it up in the bull riding, but it's going to be that second event, quote unquote. But maybe bareback riding is not his second event. Maybe he really is like Stetson, where he can be just as good at both. Because since last September, let's say, he's been a better bareback rider than bull rider. Before that, he spent a year and a half being a better bull rider than bareback rider. So some interesting things in the all-around, some really interesting things, and it'll get super interesting if Wacey Schalla starts to contend for a bareback riding world title, and he's averaging over 86 points this year. He could definitely do that if he keeps this up. He will be competing for that world title, undoubtedly, Jacob Lees, because Jacob Lees has not won either of these Texas Swing Rodeos, but he has been the runner-up at both of them. He was 89.5 on Nightcrawler in the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo Finals, earned over $17,000 there, earned $19,000 in Fort Worth for a second place finish there, 91 points on Straight Stick. So those are two NFR horses. That is NFR quality competition, and he's been 89.5 and 91 points and finished second at both of those rodeos to do it. And it is not like Jake Lees is just eating the Texas swing alive and he's making all of his money at these big rodeos. He has won over $5,000 at 5 different rodeos this year. But then if you look at him since the turn of 2026, so since the beginning of Denver at the National Western, he's got on 12 horses. He has 11 qualified rides. All of those qualified rides were at least 84 points. And across that stretch, he is averaging 86.7 points. So this is a guy who's won rounds at the NFR both times he's gone to the NFR. He has won big rodeos, but he looks different this year. He looks stronger. He looks more confident. He looks more in command. And all of the things that he has flashed over the years, he has really, really put together to begin 2026. He looks awfully dangerous. He looks like a world title contender. I would say Tristen Hutchings, friend of Jake Lees, fellow Idaho Cowboy, bull rider, he also looks like a world title contender because not only did he win San Antonio, but he's got back-to-back years where he's won a Texas Swing Rodeo. He won Houston last year. And the 4-time NFR qualifier just looked like a veteran. He bucked off his first bull, but after that, he dominated these bulls in San Antonio. Like I said, 90.5 points in the finals on his semifinal and finals ride. He was starting to get his money chops in at the 4-second mark. He took such control of these rides so early. And that has been the evolution for Tristen Hutchings because he proved right away at his first NFR, he can be a 90-point bull rider. He can make things happen on any bull. He can style up a bull and make it 88, 89, 90 points. The thing for him started to become, can he ride bulls more consistently? Can he not get over aggressive? Because in 2024, he entered the NFR with more 90-point rides than any other cowboy, but he also only rode 34%. This past year, 2025, he takes that riding percentage up to 48%. Then this year, to begin 2026, he gets off to a 9 for 14 start. And with that 4 for 5 in San Antonio, that pays him over $30,000. So a massive boost early in the standings for Tristen Hutchings. But again, the confidence is really snowballing. And I remember talking to him after Houston last year. He said kind of the same thing, that he liked the way he felt this time of year. He went on to win the American. And so same type of deal. I don't think we have seen the best version of Tristen Hutchings yet, which is very scary for a guy who has consistent top 5 finishes, for a guy who, outside of Stetson Wright and Kai Hamilton and Josh Frost, let's say, over the last 3 years, Tristen Hutchings is probably pound for pound the fourth or fifth best bull rider in the PRCA. And so it looks like, again, all things a lot like Jake Lees. He is starting to put some of these things together. Although he's going to have a challenge. Everyone is going to have a bigger challenge in the bull riding this year because this is one of my favorite stories that I'm about to talk about. It is the fact that John Crimber is gunning for the NFR, the 2-time PBR team's MVP. He's still number 1 in UTB. and he wants to make the National Finals Rodeo. And I thought this was really interesting how this came about, because John Crimber, if you've seen Fort Worth, San Antonio, Houston, he likes to just show up and hang out at some of these rodeos. And so this year it kind of worked out where he just tried to walk up at some of them. He was denied at Fort Worth, tried to walk up there. They still let him hang out in the back of the chutes. After PBR Jacksonville between February 19th and 21st, on February 21st, he went to 2 Florida PRCA rodeos, rode 2 bulls there. Said, okay, that felt pretty good. Then he's going to go to San Antonio, sat on Western Sports Roundup. He was going to visit his girlfriend, just hang out, and he goes behind the chutes, and they won't let him behind the chutes without a back number. So he goes up to the office and kind of tries to see if he can finagle his way to the back of the chutes. And they're like, well, we got a back number. We got a spot. You want it? And so he makes the finals at the San Antonio Extreme Bowls. All of a sudden, he's got $7,000, and he goes, I'm just going to buy my card. And so John Crimber has purchased his PRCA card, and his goal is not just to make a little extra money. His goal is to make the National Finals Rodeo. And we know his father, Paolo, has been a big influence on him, but what makes that even more interesting is Paolo went to 11 PBR World Finals and 1 NFR in 2004. Paolo won the average at his lone NFR in 2004. So I don't know if this is going to be permanent for John Crimber. I don't know if he just wants to go 1 year, win the average, maybe win the world title, but this escalated so quickly. And John Crimber is the best bull riding phenom that we have right now. And he might be the best bull rider in the entire world. Maybe behind Jose Vitor Leme, maybe behind Stetson Wright, if you want to make that argument. I don't care who you argue for, but the point is, he's going to have a chance to prove it, because he's going to be battling with Jose Vitor Leme and Sage Kimzey and guys like that on the PBR side of things. Then on the PRCA side of things, he's going to take on Stetson Wright and Kai Hamilton. So I really hope he makes the NFR. I really, really do. I want to see him at the NFR. I think he can ride 8 or 9 at the NFR. I think he could ride, Stetson rode 65% last year in the regular season. I think John Crimber could absolutely ride 65%. So I am going to be tracking that diligently, because we do see some PBR, PRCA crossover, mostly almost all of history in rodeo, or at least recent history. We've seen guys make a name for themselves on the PRCA, then go over to the PBR. Cody Teal, Cooper Davis, Dalen Swearingen, Boudreaux Campbell did it and came back. Sage Kimzey did it a little later in his career. Josh Frost did both in 2024. And so those are the interesting guys, the guys who have done both. Hudson Bolton made the World Finals in the PBR in 2025, made the NFR in 2025. He was almost the first guy ever to win Rookie of the Year in both organizations in the same year. Quinn Anderson rode in PBR teams last year, rode at the NFR this year, or rode at the NFR the same year. Josh Frost rode for the Oklahoma Wildcatters the same year he won his PRCA World titles. We saw JB Mooney do the reverse of this, not quite John Crimber, because John Crimber's only 20 years old, but we saw JB Mooney do this at the end of his career, go over to the PRCA, make the NFR. We saw him and Kai Hamilton share the round in JB Mooney's NFR debut. But I'm fired up about this. I want to see, it's going to settle a lot of the debates, a lot of the barroom talks, the PRCA versus the PBR. Is it harder to ride 3 more difficult bulls all in a weekend, or is it harder to get on 5 or 6 bulls every week in the summer? Well, John Crimber is going to test all of those theories. And the ultimate, who's a better bull rider, John Crimber or Stetson Wright? Heck, we're about to find out. And I hope that John Crimber is able to stay healthy and give himself a real fair shake at making the NFR, potentially winning the world title. Because that's another thing. The last thing on this is, if John Crimber sneaks in at number 13, he will not be the 13th best bull rider in the field. And every year, there's like 6 or 7 guys who are capable of riding more than 50% of the NFR, whether that's health, caliber of bulls, confidence, any number of things. John Crimber will be one of those guys. So he could snag a world title coming from way behind, because it's like him, Stetson Wright, Josh Frost. There's not that many guys who you can count on or who you think will ride at least 6 or 7 bulls at the NFR. I think he is absolutely one of those guys. To end this No Huddle Rodeo presented by Cavenders, just want to clean some things up on the timed event side of things. In the steer wrestling in San Antonio, Tyler Waguespack wins that rodeo. Tyler Waguespack's gotten off to some slow starts of late, some below average seasons for him, which ended with him finishing 9th in 2024, 11th in 2025. But the big difference now, in 2025, he had $25,000 for the entire Texas swing. Right now, he's already got $36,000 through 2 events in the Texas swing. So Tyler Waguespack will not be playing catch up. And now you've got a 5-time world champion who may be operating from the front for most of the season. Tie down roping. The biggest story for me for the entire year was who is going to challenge Riley Webb. Well, we've got 2 great challengers because it's 2 guys we hoped and expected could go up to that level. Kincaid Henry wins Fort Worth. Now John Douch wins San Antonio. And John Douch wins San Antonio with a 7.1 second run after he was 7-4 for 3rd last year, 4 times of 7.8 or better in the finals. Kincaid Henry being one of them, but then John Douch takes it. So great start, setup similar to the NFR. Awesome to see guys who can win NFR rounds and who will be threats at the NFR, guys who can be 6'8", 6'9", 7'1", 7'2", 7'3" in that building. It's going to take a couple of those to beat Riley Webb. It also might take a cushion. It also might take some of these big wins. So to see Kincaid Henry and John Douch both have one is a really, really good sign for the health of tie-down roping without Shad Mayfield. Those 2 guys are really good. Those 2 guys are legitimate world title contenders, legitimate world title challengers to Riley Webb. And I think it's awesome that they both sent a message early that Riley's not going to just walk to a 4 straight world title, that they are here to compete. Bear with me here because I think this might register as a complaint. I love tournament-style rodeos. I think Fort Worth is the purest tournament-style rodeo because you truly advance each time. You got to be top 2 in your bracket to make the semifinals. 3rd goes to the wild card. I love that. I love the wild card coming from your bracket, not after the semifinals like they do it in Houston, like they do it in San Antonio. The reason I say that is because Lightning Aguilera and Wyatt Cox won this rodeo. And they won this rodeo on money earned after tying Caleb Driggers and Junior Nogueira in the short round. And the reason to me that is important is because what broke the tie is the fact that Aguilera and Cox won $5,500 in the wild card. And that is a credit to them because they were 3-6 in the wild card. And it's also a credit to them. I am not taking advantage, or I'm not saying anything poorly about them, because they made 3 runs of 3.8 seconds or faster. And you deserve to win any rodeo if 3 of your 5 runs or 3 of your 6 runs are 3.8 seconds or faster. So they absolutely deserve this win. They roped well enough to win this rodeo. And they were just operating in the format of the rodeo. But if they tie Driggers and Nogueira, and the difference is ultimately about $2,500 in total money earned, they get $5,500 for the wild card. They got 1 extra steer. And it's not 1 extra steer that they necessarily earned. They got an extra steer because they were eliminated. And so I have mixed feelings. I think if I were in charge here, in the wild card, you could win like $1,500 or $2,000, maybe even $2,500. But I think anything over $2,000 probably shouldn't count toward the rodeo. You shouldn't make the same amount as the semifinal winners if you didn't even make the top 4 in the semifinals, if you were eliminated in the semifinals. I think the wild card should be what your reward should be a couple $1,000s. I'm not telling you to work for free or rope for free. You should get paid for winning the round. You should absolutely get paid for a 3-8. But what I'm saying is either shouldn't count toward the San Antonio standings, or it should be a number that is more akin to winning a round in your bracket, more like 2,700, something like that. Because again, they essentially got a $5,000 bonus after they were eliminated, then use that $5,000 bonus to win the rodeo. But again, credit to them. They roped well enough to win. So that's where I kind of have the mixed feelings is like, if you're 3-6 and 3-8 in the same day, as I mentioned, who am I to tell you that you didn't deserve to win? But that is my end of show kind of thought, my controversial. I don't give a lot of takes on there, but that's one that's always stewed with me is just the slight differences in these brackets. I think San Antonio has some slight differences that maybe lend itself to better competition, but I'm not necessarily sure it is the most fair competition. So with that is today's episode of No Huddle Rodeo. We are brought to you by Cavender's. Thank you to Runyon's Fine Furniture. Thank you to everyone in the Fort Worth Stockyards. We've got all things Houston Coming up next, we've got PBR content. We've got a lot of shorts too. We are breaking up some of these stories. We are more active on TikTok, more active on our YouTube shorts. We really want to be able to tell you what happened, tell you the biggest stories in rodeo. Not 2 minutes for the entire thing. That's too fast, but 2 or 3 minute chunks at a time so you can get a better picture of all things pro rodeo. Until then, thank you to Runyons. Thank you to Cavenders. Thank you to the Fort Worth Stockyards. Please, if you enjoyed this, as always, I'm bad about this part, like, subscribe, comment, tell a friend, and we will see you for more No Huddle Rodeo, and we will see you on all of our content across all platforms on US Cowboy. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.